The architecture of global control, a 2,000-year timeline. 1st century, 5th century, Roman Empire and early Christianity. The Roman Empire institutionalized taxation and centralized authority. Currency debasement began under later emperors, separating the idea of money from intrinsic value. Christianity became a state religion under Constantine. Its moral and financial structures were later co-opted by the church hierarchy. Usury was banned under Christian law, but moneylending quietly continued via minority groups, often Jews, who were both permitted and restricted depending on the ruler's needs. The 6th to 11th century, feudalism and ecclesiastical control. Wealth was primarily land-based. Lords and kings ruled via fealty and force. The Catholic Church became the largest landholder in Europe. Religious prohibition on usury persisted. Jewish financiers became crucial to European courts as they were often exempt from these bans. Tensions began rising as debt systems formed around noble families and monarchs indebted to lenders. 12th to 15th century, Crusades, Templars, and banking prototypes. The Knights Templar introduced early international banking, letters of credit, transfers, and custodianship. The papacy and European kings depended on financial agents, including Jewish lenders and emerging Italian banking families, e.g. the Medici. Expulsions of Jews from countries like England, 1290, and Spain, 1492, coincided with monarchs defaulting on debts. 16th to 17th century, Protestant Reformation and birth of modern finance. The Reformation disrupted Catholic power. Protestant nations began legitimizing usury under regulation. Central banking prototypes appeared: Amsterdam Bank, 1609, and Bank of England, 1694. Control shifted from monarchies to financial institutions. Joint stock companies, e.g. Dutch East India Company, became tools of imperial expansion and wealth extraction. 18th to 19th century, Industrial Revolution and Rothschild ascendancy. Industrialization created new wealth centers in Europe and America. The Rothschild family became Europe's preeminent financial dynasty, financing wars, infrastructure, and governments. The US established and abolished multiple central banks. 1870 to 1914, the Long Peace, underpinned by the gold standard and financial interconnection of European elites. 1913 to 1945, the World Wars and central banking consolidation. Thus, 1913, the US Federal Reserve was created. Privately controlled, it gained the exclusive right to issue US currency. World War I and World War II reshaped the world map. Massive war debts consolidated central banking dominance. The Balfour Declaration, 1917, declared British support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, often interpreted as a strategic imperial move. 1945-1971, Bretton Woods and American global dominance. US dollar became global reserve currency, backed by gold. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank were formed, ostensibly for development, but often locking poorer nations into debt. 1948, Israel was declared a state. American foreign policy intertwined with supporting Israel militarily and financially. 1971, present, fiat currency, financialization, and global governance. Nixon ended gold convertibility in 1971. The dollar became purely fiat, backed by oil, petrodollar system. Wages stagnated, wealth inequality surged. Asset managers like BlackRock and Vanguard came to control massive portions of global equity, housing, and infrastructure. Financial crises, 2008, etc., consolidated even more wealth at the top. The Federal Reserve and ECB bailed out markets, not citizens. AIPAC and other lobbying organizations ensured unwavering US support for Israel. Political division, culture wars, and identity politics replaced class struggle in media discourse. Now, 2025, surveillance, digital IDs, and CBDCs are being explored or implemented. The public remains distracted and divided. Global debt exceeds GDP. Land, water, and food are increasingly privatized. Those who control credit, data, and media shape reality itself. Public resistance is fragmented. Systemic change is suppressed or co-opted. Over the course of 2,000 years, power has gradually shifted from divine right monarchies and religious institutions to unseen financial empires, backed not by armies or elections, but by control over debt, information, and perception. What began as religious limitations on usury evolved into systems of financial dependency, where credit issuance became the new scepter of rule. Those who mastered the management of debt, governments, banks, and private asset funds rose above nations themselves. This architecture of control has refined itself through centuries of trial. Religious persecution, revolutions, wars, and markets have all been used as both catalysts and cover. The rise of central banking, fiat currency, and global investment entities has created a world where the average person is born into a system that invisibly determines their access to housing, education, healthcare, and freedom. The true levers of power, who prints money, who sets interest rates, who owns the infrastructure, are hidden behind layers of bureaucracy, lobby groups, and media noise. Political division is encouraged to prevent class unity. War is perpetual to justify debt and control. Surveillance is normalized under the guise of safety, and land, water, and food are quietly sold to private interests. By 2025, the structure is nearly complete. A system where sovereignty is subordinate to capital, and capital is in fewer and fewer hands. Without understanding this long evolution, people fight symptoms instead of causes. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming autonomy.